What's up? What's up, Tomboy Official? Good morning. I have not recorded a morning episode in a really long time. And I have recorded some episodes lately, but I don't think I've posted them. I've been pretty bad at posting. But maybe the last couple weeks, I've taken some time outside of the house after work to kind of just go down the street, park in the shade, do some recordings. I just, at the moment, don't know how I feel about those recordings. There's not really a specific direction I've been going with this pod, but I'm definitely figuring out a lot of things. But today I kind of wanted to talk about something social. I think I'm kind of wanting to talk about like social experiences and, you know, the difference between if you're maybe like chasing somebody versus if you're not chasing somebody. I know Aaron Doughty talks about it a lot, at least he used to, about this kind of law of attraction. But before we get into that, just some basic stuff, health is key. Health is important, I went to sleep last night probably a little after 10:30 p.m. I had a long weekend. Not 3 days, but long as in like a good draining long weekend, which I definitely needed. I definitely noticed that I feel much better. So I went to this rave this weekend, this music festival, EDM festival in LA. You guys probably know about it, Hard Summer. It was amazing. I got a 2-day pass, and I got this pass so many months ago that I can't even remember how many months ago it was, but months ago. Like, I think I got the pass maybe even before I started this job, maybe before April. I really don't remember. But it, you know, concerts, festivals, live music, that kind of thing. It's definitely part of my self-care routine. I just try not to go overboard because tickets aren't cheap. And then if you consider transportation, either Ubering to and from, or if you're not Ubering and you're just, driving, that area in Inglewood, unless you know where to park street parking wise in a safe area, then you can end up paying upwards of like $80 to park per day. If you don't plan in advance or if you don't like shop around. And sometimes, I don't know, it's a walk too. Like if you don't like walking, SoFi isn't probably for you. I I don't think excuse me, I don't think other than one experience in Chula Vista, when I saw Rufus the Soul, and I don't know what that amphitheater is called. It's like this outdoor amphitheater. It used to be Sleep Mattress, and then it was like, I don't know, some kind of northern bank or something. I don't know. I don't even know what it's called anymore, but basically that one in Chula Vista that's near the water park. There's I think there's really one way in and one way out. There might be like a back road, but I don't really know. There's like this hill, and they had it blocked off so the Ubers couldn't really get in, and so you had to walk all the way out to the Ubers because they were doing construction or something. traffic was so bad, and I think my friend parked in the lot. They said they didn't get home till like 1 a.m. And then luckily, I went with a friend who their partner came and picked us up, and so we had to walk. And it was probably like, I don't know, it was at least a mile, I want to say. It was probably like yeah, because how long does it take to walk a mile? Like 10 minutes, 12 minutes or something? And I'm pretty sure we were walking more than like 20 minutes, probably like 30 minutes. And for SoFi, I don't recall. I think there are like 3 or 4 rideshare areas, but it's a disaster. And you're just trying to get a ride, and you're just like, okay, I need to get a ride. But if you leave with everybody else, you can wait for like an hour, and then there's people trying to gouge you like right when you get out that have these rideshare signs, but they charge like $120. And for me, an Uber costs anywhere between like $27 or $50 to or from that area. It just depends on peak hours and all kinds of other things. But yeah, I spent a bit in Ubers and the ticket, but the other options were what? Stay home, save money and stay home, but not get any kind of sense of adventure or invigorating energy or anything. Um, Not catch up with a friend, not get as much sunlight as I got, not get to hear music, not do as much dancing as I did. I mean, I could stay home and like sit out on the front porch and get sun or go to the beach for free again or listen to music and dance around in the house, you know, but it wouldn't have. I mean, that's kind of, I do that anyways. Like, that's kind of like a normal thing that I do. And so, to me, it made more sense. I mean, it's not really about the money. It's not really like, okay, it was better because I spent money. It's just the length of time that I spent doing those things that are important. I probably wouldn't have likely done that over the weekend, to be honest, because I know last weekend I was supposed to have a nice gym weekend, and I got bored of the gym, and just sometimes you just need to shake it up a little bit. Unfortunately, it's kind of an expensive hobby, but you know if you think about all the other expenses throughout the month, if you're pretty frugal, a couple $100 a month extra on one event isn't usually gonna be like the downfall of someone's bank account or something. Because when you think of it, for people who do a lot of Uber Eats, orders and all that kind of Grubhub stuff, you're spending over $20 per order. So if you order that even 5 times in a month, that's already like over $100. If you consider all the fees and tips, like maybe different states are different. Because I feel like when I watch Caleb Hammer videos, people are spending like $15, $17. Like out here in LA, I don't think I've spent under $20. Because once even if it's like 16, 17, 15.99, something like that, there's always the fee and then you tip. And we get taxed heavily out here on everything. So it's like the tip, the fees, the tax, there's no way that's going to be under, if something's $15, just tag on an extra $1.50 to that. And then the service fees are probably going to be like $1 to $3. And then, actually, I think they tax you on after the service fee. And then, so if you have $15, add an extra $1 or so dollars, let's say $2. Yeah, so if you have $17, add an extra $1.70 to that. I mean, you're already, I can't do math right now. What's the what, 1870? And then tip on that. If you tip 20%, That's, watch me do math in my head. I don't remember what I said. 18 something. That's like over, it's like $4. Like about a $4 tip, just about. Um, that brings you to about $22 for whatever you ordered. That was like 17. Well, if it was $15 or something, and then after fees and all that, it comes up to about $22. So that's pretty steep for a burger or whatever. But I'm not saying I don't order that stuff. I definitely do. It's just it's not a good financial decision, but I do it anyways. So I don't know. And with this job, it's getting me from point A to B as far as like savings and you know things I want to do. But it's not for me. I'm coming to the conclusion I'm gonna need to bounce out of this job. Oh, as soon as I can. Um, Last week kind of caught up with me. I wasn't my strongest last week as far as working. Definitely lost a lot of sleep Tuesday night, or Tuesday early morning. Because, well, I think, was it that I couldn't fall asleep? Or that I woke up too early and couldn't go back to sleep? I can't remember now. But whatever it was a bad situation. Then I had to do this home visit, which was that next day, Wednesday, but at 2 o'clock and p.m. And usually that's the worst time for me. Like pretty much any time earlier, my energy, except for maybe 8:30, because we start at 8:30. Give it like a few minutes to check my emails and get logged in and stuff. So give me till like 8:45 or so to kind of get into the groove. But yeah, I wasn't in the groove of things, and I feel like I never really hit that point, on Wednesday. Like I was so just like foggy and tired, and I think it was anxiety. I don't really know what it was, but between the lack of sleep and eating, not really being able to eat that much till like I think I ate my first actual meal at like close to like 4 when I finished visiting this patient's house. And then Thursday, things were kind of back to normal, but I was kind of like still recovering from Wednesday. But then I had to do a whole bunch of stuff Thursday that set me behind because we had a deadline because it's like the beginning of a new month. And then Friday, I picked up a difficult patient, someone who's going to be difficult to work with, because they need so much, but their insurance doesn't cover it. And so I already know, trying to help this person is going to be a challenge because they need someone with them because mentally they're not fully. I don't think that mentally they're going to be maybe at their best. Um, uh, you know, like they get confused easily. I don't really want to go into it, but basically, I'm going to be having to deal with this for like 30 days. Unfortunately, this person has to deal with their own problems too, but they need a lot, and I'm like, it's kind of bringing me back to like the types of people I used to work with, where it's like they all needed so much, and I'm like, this week I was really wanting to catch up with some stuff, and I already know that this might become an issue, so I'm gonna talk to them probably first thing. Once I can get in touch with their doctors and stuff after 9 today. I just woke up this morning kind of like thinking about that, and I'm like, I don't want to spend my morning thinking about like how I'm problem solving this case, you know. And so I was like, I'd rather just record a podcast episode because I was just laying there and I'm like, okay, I woke up before 6, and then I don't know what time it was. It was like probably like 5 a.m., 5:30, whatever, probably around. It was before the sun came out, and then it slowly started getting blue, and then the sun starts coming out, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I did fall back to sleep like once for a little bit. Had a weird little dream. Um, and then I was like, okay. But I mean, I am trying to be more selfish. And I don't know if I'm wording it correctly, but I've talked about this before a little bit. But I'm like, this is the year that I'm trying to be more selfish. I'm trying to think more about, what's in this for me. And when I'm working at this job, I'm like, okay, I like providing services for people, helping people out. That just comes with the nature of the job. But I'm like, okay, what am I getting out of this? This job, I'm not building that many new skills. I mean, maybe I'm learning resources, but it's like, if you know how to find resources and how to learn about resources, then you don't always need to know like the specifics of every single one, if that makes sense. So if you know about those kind of resources or have access to them, then you don't really you don't really need to know. I don't know, like, because there are resource centers and resource lines that you can call and stuff, and so they can kind of direct you. But I feel like you don't really need to memorize every single one. Like, I kind of have an ongoing list that I just add to, and then we have a team that posts things in the chat, and then we have resources just at our disposal or people that we can ask. And so it's like I don't have to like memorize every single thing. So that's the only thing that I think, and other than learning like software that we use like for the job and stuff, and learning about different conditions and things, like I don't know. I don't really see how all this information is gonna be super helpful for my future. Like it's not the type of information or learning that I feel like I need to know, unless I want to stay doing this kind of work. But I don't want to stay doing this kind of work. I mean, this conversation, I've talked about this multiple times. I'm not trying to keep doing this. It's just the tech field right now is very, it doesn't seem as stable as working in mental and physical health care. Unfortunately, homelessness, mental health, and physical health problems are on the rise, and there are definitely needs for jobs in those areas that are, areas supporting those people. But just the drain it has on me, like, even though this job is somewhat easier than the other one, I'm working an extra 30 hours a day. I don't get paid days off. I don't get paid holidays. So, and I don't get a $1,000, which is 800 something dollars actually in California, a $1,000 something, a 1,000 something dollar taxed bonus every quarter. So I think I'm actually possibly making the same amount of money I was making before. I have to do the exact math on that. But I also don't have like the best of healthcare insurance. I mean, this job doesn't have the best benefits package, in all honesty. I mean, there's no retirement contribution. And I mean, it is like, okay, if you stay up until 6 months, then I might have the opportunity to get that type of stuff. But then that means 6 months, and then that means from there move up in a field that I don't want to be in. So I'm like, I can't stay at this pay rate. For now it's fine, but I can't. Like, as far as my goals, we all know what my goals are, and this job is not going to help me reach those goals. If I can't move up in the job with a better pay rate or into a different field within the site, it's just not going to work for me. The pay rate's just way too low. Because I'm coming out of pocket for other stuff, and so there's that. So I'm gonna be looking elsewhere. I don't know, because I'm trying to go with how I feel, and I'm noticing the drain. I'm noticing the drain of this job. Like, that's kind of, I noticed it last week. I've noticed it for maybe a couple weeks now, where I'm like, you know, I want to do service with the patients. Like, I'm trying to do good work with them, but I can kind of see myself not fully, like, I haven't fully bought into it. Like, I'm not half-assing it. I'm just not into it. Like, it's not a good job for my own career development. It's not the worst job I could ever have, but it's not. It's money. It's money. That's what it is. It gives me money in my pocket every week. I don't really know what else to say outside of that, but it's not the best job for me. I can tell it's not. I already knew it kind of going in, but it was something, and it's the most remote job I could find. So at least I'm not like spending gas and extra energy driving all over the place. But for stimulation's sake, being in an office might be of some benefit, but I don't really feel like learning new staff and being like too engaged with them. I was just kind of like, okay, let's just get in and out with this. But that's kind of where I'm at with work and stuff. Just trying to get to a place where I'm not so much trying to just like full on rely on a job that I'm not really into doing. And I don't want to stay in a job too long if I'm not really into it. Like, because there's really nothing in it for me. Nothing that I can really see on the horizon that's going to bump me to a space. I mean, there's the potential that a new job might open up. And if I'm there for 6 months, I'll be eligible to apply. So that's as much as I have. And I'm not going to put my eggs in that basket and just all of them and be like, okay, like, I got to make it to the 6 month mark so that I can potentially move up at this site. Like, who knows when a better paying job will open up. And even if it does, if I apply for it, how's the competition and will I even get the role? And so that to me it's a crapshoot, like it's a gamble. And I feel like if I don't start applying elsewhere, then pretty much all my eggs are kind of just in one basket right now. And I don't really like that because I'm not really into this job so much. I don't hate it, but I don't want to get to the point where I do hate it. So, yeah, that's kind of where I am with it. But I wanted to talk some about this this um what do you call it? I guess it's man, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. So about the social stuff, when it comes to people trying to, you know, figure out um when it comes to people trying to kind of figure out um mm, like, socially what's going on. And I'm not saying I play games, but I will say it's something I've noticed. So, sometimes people want, a relationship or, a certain kind of connection, social connection to go a certain way. You know, they want someone to maybe hang out with them or make plans with them or do something together. And I'm usually like, I'm not necessarily needy, but I would say that I definitely like to um, uh, make plans with people. And, I look forward to making plans with people. I like my friends, I like seeing them, so of course I want to make plans with them. But, there are people that maybe, you know, I do notice that, you know, when I kind of back off from kind of initiating conversation, checking in, asking how they are, um, you know, not really that I'm texting them every day. There are maybe one or two people I text like just about every day, just say hey. But other than that, I don't really message that many people every day. Like there might be periods of time where I'm like in a conversation with certain people, but sometimes, it's not really the case. I'm not really in a conversation with them all the time. And so I've noticed with some people, they don't really respond um, too much or like have too much to say. I'm not saying people need to have like an ongoing text conversation because some people hate that. But I have noticed some people just don't communicate that way at all. And then some people do, but maybe it's not their preferred way of keeping in touch, but also they don't really make solid plans or they don't really, um, even if it's with text, not texting, like calling, they don't get on the phone and call. So it's like, well, if we're not going to see each other and we're not going to talk to each other, but you keep saying you want to hang out, it's like, how are we going to do that if the other person's not responding. So there's that style. There's the style of person who just doesn't like to text, which I get. There's a style of person who likes to talk on the phone, which I get. Now for me, I don't mind talking on the phone. I prefer early conversations, like early in the day, and when people are sober, preferably like quality conversations. I prefer, you know, um, that's kind of just what I prefer. It's easier. I'm not saying I prefer talking on the phone. I'm just saying if I'm going to talk on the phone, I prefer it to be kind of earlier. Um, and I also would say that when it comes to making plans and hanging out, I'd say like it's good to know a time and a place. But I am a big like confirm person, especially because I'm used to hanging out in LA, so usually it's like let me know when you're on your way or like whatever, because there's such a length of time, there's such a long amount of time, um, you know, between uh, um, I guess what am I trying to say? There's a pretty long amount of time between um, trying to get from point A to point B sometimes. And so if someone's going to be like 45 minutes late, it's easier to just, for me to be like, okay, are you going to be late? So that I don't have to leave early to try to get there early when they're already going to be 45 minutes late. It's like if they're going to be 45 minutes late, I can leave 30 minutes later, 30, 40 minutes later, and then get there closer to when they're going to get there versus like get there and then be like waiting forever. And especially if you're paying like hourly parking, it's like, dude, if you already paid for like an hour of parking when you weren't even like meeting yet, that's the kind of thing that, in person, I prefer to kind of confirm because I hate waiting someplace for people or a person, if I don't know that they're going to be late, because a lot of times we're coming from such a far distance. It's like, if it's going to take an hour to get there for both of us sitting in traffic, I'd rather know that like, oh, you have to work an extra half hour or you have to like submit something or you have to like drop into the grocery store real quick or you have to like, do some kind of chore really quick or something. It's like, okay, it's going to take you that extra long, that extra amount of time. So instead of me just twiddling my thumbs, like waiting there and being like, oh my gosh, like why aren't you there yet? Um, you know, it's good to kind of have communication on that end. Um, so usually if somebody doesn't confirm, I'm usually just gonna be like, they haven't left yet, because I kind of need to know to try to meet near the same time. Because that's how it is out here. Like, you know, the traffic really does dictate kind of how you can kind of meet up with people and see people and stuff. Um, but other than that, I would say, when it comes to this law of attraction issue, especially how Aaron Doughty talks about it. So, with the law of attraction, at least how Aaron Doughty explains it, basically what happens is, you know, it's kind of this combination of seeing how things socially change based on someone's level of maybe seeming needy. So needy would be something like someone seeming like overly anxious to get in touch, or just hounding, or just constantly just like in your DMs trying to get your attention. And the opposite of that end of the spectrum is someone who just doesn't respond. Now, a lot of times, now this isn't anything to say like, oh, this is how you get back with your ex, or this is how, you do anything like that. And like I said, I don't play games, but the way that I've kind of recognized this is when I'm not busy, I'm usually more likely to text people and be like, hey, what's up? And like try to check in and be like, what's going on? Like, how you doing? Like, want to meet up? Like, what are you doing? And I might hit up like multiple people like that, just to check in with multiple friends. It might get like ongoing conversations going and things like that. And everyone, like I said at the beginning, everyone kind of has their own styles with communicating. And so the people who don't like to text, I don't expect to really hear back from them anytime soon, unless it's something. Some people just won't message back unless it's, yes, I want to hang out at this place this time. Let's meet up. Yes, I'll be available. Then they'll start, interacting because you have plans. But if they don't want to make those plans or aren't sure, they won't even like respond at all. There are other people who respond, and almost everything they say is like people pleasing, like, yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, sounds fun. Yeah, sounds good. The day of, you never hear from them, or they just flake. Now, flaking, I call flaking either when somebody double books plans that you've already made with them. So if I have plans with a friend and then they go and make plans with some other person, I call that flaking. Or if they just decide to not go, but don't have like a reason. And I'm not saying people have to tell me their reason, they can keep it to themselves. Some people like their privacy. I get it. I'm not gonna like ask people. But the way I find that out sometimes is like people kind of tell on themselves. And like I said, I'm not like trying to trick people or act all like crazy about it. But I mean, I've had times where I've planned with people and they're like, sorry, I can't make it. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, it happens. And then I find out, oh, they're like posting on Instagram that they're like at this pool party or something. And it's like, weren't we going to go do this other thing? And so it's like they post at the same time where you were going to be meeting them. They're like doing something else. Or they say that they were ill, or they say something that kind of sounds like, oh, like that makes sense that you would want to cancel. But then when you talk to them later, they're like, oh yeah, like 2 Sundays ago, I was like, I took this random trip with a group of my friends to Vegas, and I'm like, I thought you were sick, like you said you were sick, so you had to cancel, and it just so happens to be that same day that you were like taking an overnight trip to Vegas. And like, so I've noticed that there's the people who just like aren't truthful. They try to people please, but there's not a lot of truth in it, and they don't have a problem with that. Or if they do, it's consistently their style. I don't like that. I'd rather just have people up front cancel. If someone cancels and doesn't tell me why, and I find something out like that, then it's kind of like, okay, whatever. But it's like if they outright lied about it, that's different. And then there are the people, I wouldn't consider it flaky if somebody is like ill, or just, their energy isn't up to it. Sometimes you just need your own rest, you just need your own space. And if you try to plan things in advance, it's really hard to tell how you're going to feel the day of. That's very common. I have that same issue. Like yesterday, I didn't really want to go back to that rave, but I was like, well, my options are stay home and lay in bed or go to this rave that I already have tickets to. And so that seemed like the better option, but it was like, man, I had to like drag myself out of bed. Like literally, I was like, I wanted to go, but energy wise, my body was like, just lay here. And mentally, my mind was like, yeah, listen to your body. Just lay here. But I'm glad I went, and it was part of the healing experience. It was definitely helpful. It was definitely worth going. But one thing I've noticed is, why is it that when I'm busy and I stop reaching out to people and I'm just like in hermit mode, that's when I get plenty of messages, people trying to like interact, trying to plan, trying to like, you know, call, trying to make plans with me. And I'm just thinking like, man, like this is a weird week or two for me that I don't really have a lot of time for my friends. But they have a lot of time for me all of a sudden, and it's like, that's how I've noticed the patterns, which is why I'm saying I don't play games. I'm not like trying to like scheme and, sneak around, trying to like catch people in their lies or whatever. Like, that's not really what I'm doing. It's just, I've kind of noticed that when I back off out of being busy, or when I kind of just like am in my own realm, doing my own thing, doing my own creative projects, not really paying attention to anybody but myself, then that's when people start coming out of the woodworks. Like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, haven't seen you in a while. And the busier I get and not thinking about them and not really interacting with them, more and more and more people are like suddenly available when they might not have been available for like weeks or months before that. And I'm not saying I'm like messaging everybody for like weeks or months on end, just like, please hang out. But I mean, that's kind of the dynamic I've kind of noticed. And I don't think people do it out of pity or out of like feeling bad. I think people that's just the flow of things. That's kind of what I'm noticing. And it's kind of like an interesting little thing to kind of realize that, like, yeah, people, sometimes can be a little hard to find time to be with, find time to interact with. They can have you know there are differences. Like, people just have their differences with things. And I've kind of noticed that just from the amount of people that I kind of interact with on a regular basis. I've kind of noticed that's kind of the social flow of things. That, if you are pretty regularly interactive with people, it's kind of a fine line though. But if you are pretty regularly interactive with people, some people just aren't going to be that interactive till you stop interacting with them, and then other people are still kind of at the same level of being interactive, so they'll still continue to kind of have this back and forth. And then some people just don't talk to anybody. You can kind of tell too with people and their friends. Like, if people go out with their friends and you see people making plans with friends and going out, then that means that somewhere along the line they're making plans with people. If you see people who never go out and they never hang out with their friends ever, or don't have any friends, or don't really seem to have like a group of people that they hang out with, or people that they make plans with even individually, then they're probably less likely to kind of be making plans with you, because they don't make plans with anybody. So just kind of understanding that. I mean, I think I do want to talk about the dating world, but I think just this in general with that, and lately having to be more patient with people. The money just isn't there for a lot of people. the time, the energy just isn't there like it used to be for a lot of people. And so things have changed over the years. And just being able to like hang out and go to a bar and club like 2, 3 times a week just isn't realistic right now for a lot of people. And meeting people online, you know, a lot of people are on there, they're lonely, they want to talk, they want to interact, but they really don't want to date, you know. So I hope this is helpful. I'm going to post this for this morning. I got to log into work in like 5 minutes and kind of scarf down some breakfast. But with that, thanks for listening.